Ruslan.
My plan fell through. A change is needed. A conversation that is seldom talked about in church today in a way that I think is both practical, beneficial, helpful, honest, deliberate, all these different things. I got to give you guys a bit of context. Okay, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with me, I've had a lot of plans in my life, and we know what Proverbs says about a man makes plans in his heart, but it's God that sees them through. I've had a lot of plans in my life. I initially was planning to be a professional basketball player. That was the goal. And then I discovered that I am 5'10.5" and Armenian. All right. And if you think about how Armenians roll, we could never make it to the NBA because we'd be too busy trying to look good in our jumpsuit and our basketball warm-up sweats to ever get those off to get into a game. It just would never work. And then there's this thing called genetics. Okay, so step one is, genetically speaking, it just wasn't in the cards. But I was really intent on making it to the NBA. That was plan one. Didn't work out. All right. Plan two is I was going to be a famous rapper. All right. I was going to be a famous rapper. I was going to travel the world. I was going to tell people about Jesus and all of these amazing things that I think that God was going to do to my life. This is now post-salvation, right? In case you didn't tell, that didn't work out either. Okay. So in this entire pursuit of attempting to do different things for the glory of God, I had to come to terms with the reality, which is, well, I was a married man with a family, people to provide for, and the plans that I had weren't the plans that were working for me. I then thought, well, maybe I'll go work at my church. I'll go be a pastor. I'll do ministry. People say I can communicate. And so I decided to do that for a while. And in my pursuit of that, after 2 years, that was obviously not what it was supposed to be doing either. So I went back to music. I did music for a while. I went full time with music in 2015, built this whole thing up. But then I discovered that I was traveling too much. I would be gone for long amounts of period. And I remember one time I was gone from my family for almost a month. And I had this epiphany. The whole point of attempting to do music and be a creative entrepreneur was to get more time with my family, not to spend weeks and months away from them. And in this entire time, I was making this crucial mistake that I think a lot of us make when it comes to this concept of what are we supposed to be doing? What are our plans, right? Is that we, unfortunately, conflate our vocation and what we do for money in a specific season with our purpose. We think that what you do for money is always equivalent to what is your purpose. And the truth is that your purpose is more tied in to the Great Commission, which we all should know from Matthew 28. If you're a follower of Jesus, this was Jesus's declaration to us. Some of the last words he said, right? Therefore go and make what? Therefore go and make disciples of all nations. Okay? Make disciples of all nations. Baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. See, foundationally speaking, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. When it comes to purpose, if you're a follower of Jesus, it's not that deep. The purpose is right there in Matthew. Matthew chapter 28. The purpose is for you to know God and to go and make him known to the nations. That's your purpose. Your purpose is not what you do for money. Your purpose is not what you do at your local church. Your purpose is not how in shape you are. Your purpose is not how cool you think you are. Your purpose is not your clothes. Your purpose is not if you start a job and succeed. Your purpose is to know God and make him known. Yet, unfortunately, most people really struggle with that. And I think it's because we've grossly complicated the process, and we keep looking at other people who are maybe in a sweet spot in their assignment, and we're conflating it and saying, well, I don't get to experience my purpose the way they do. I'm not walking in my purpose. Ruslan, how do I get to know my purpose? This is a common question I get all the time from the Gen Zers, the millennials, even the boomers and the Zoomers and the Gen Xers. Everybody wants to know what their purpose is, but your purpose is very clear in Scripture. Therefore, go out and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey everything I've said. That's your purpose. That's my purpose. That could look different in different seasons. That could look different through different vocations. Some of you guys may be desiring or called to be in full-time ministries. Other you guys, you just want to serve your local church and go work a job in a marketplace. Other people may start a business. All of these different things are going to be not just different per person, but different per season. A mother's purpose when she just gave birth is going to be different than her purpose when she's single, or rather when her kids are 20 years old. Her purpose is going to be different. And by purpose, now I'm interchanging. I'm talking about assignment, right? Her purpose is going to be the same, but her assignment is going to be different. The thing she's doing in that moment is going to be different, right? And so if you're trying to figure out what this is, I understand. I'm right there with you. I've done it far too many times, but I've done it on the presupposition that my purpose is connected to what I do for money, and that is such a Western construct that is just not always aware in other places of the world. Meaning, like, I'm from Azerbaijan, I'm Armenian. You don't always just jump in and ask people what they do for work, right? If you traveled a bit internationally, that's not something most people lead with. That's a very American thing. Right? And I love America. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those guys like, nah, America's bad. That's not what I'm saying. I love America. I love capitalism. But we are so connected to this idea of what you do for money is connected to your purpose, and it's not. Okay? So I've done all kinds of things for money. I've cleaned toilets at a church for money. I've worked at an after-school program for money. I've worked at a Pizza Hut for money. I've worked with kids with, adults with developmental disabilities for money. I've done so many different things for money. So many different things for money to earn a living. A man who doesn't work ought not eat. Right? I've done so many different things for money, but none of those things changed my purpose. You see, none of those things messed up or conflated who I was. It's just my purpose has always been the same. I had a bizarre paradigm. Right? I had a bizarre paradigm of those things. And so if you're wrestling with this, first of all, you got to know what your purpose is in Scripture. Second of all, you have to detach yourself from the idea that your purpose is your vocation. Okay? It's not. And your purpose may not always be your assignment. Your assignment can change. Okay? Your assignment can change. And so let's be sober about these things. Now, when we're talking about finding what are you supposed to be doing in the specific season that you're in? Here, I think, is where most people are struggling, and what they're really trying to get at is like, okay, yes, Ruslan, I'm with you. I've realigned myself. My purpose is to know God and make him known. That is my purpose. Now help me understand, what is my assignment in this specific season that I'm in? What is my assignment? And with social media and YouTube and everything, that'll distort your assignment. Because you think you got an ability to teach or preach, and then you open up social media and you see people in front of thousands of people with millions of followers, and they're doing amazing things. And you're like, well, I feel like I have that gift. Is this how it's supposed to be expressed in my life? Not knowing that you're looking at people's highlight reel. You're not looking at the day-to-day grind or what they did to get there. How long they had to serve when no one was looking. How many times they preached to rooms less than a dozen. You just see the highlight reel. So then that gets conflated. You open up social media and you're like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be doing this, but right. And so now we're playing this bizarre comparison game, not understanding that social media is not a reflection of reality. Social media is not a reflection of where most people are at. Even people that are successful, they're not always going to show you the times where it's hard, right? They're not going to show you the times where it's hard. How do we get to this idea of what our purpose is? Well, there's a couple principles we can glean from the Scriptures. First of all, we need to make sure that we're in a proper standing with God, meaning you need to be born again. Second of all, you need to take an inventory of the things that you already have access to, the time, the treasure, the relationships, the skills you already have. Here's a good verse, and some people may not like it, but I think this is speaking to this idea of work and finding joy in work, which Ecclesiastes talks often about. So if you go to Ecclesiastes chapter 9, the verse before it says, enjoy life with your wife whom you love, all the days, enjoy life with your wife whom you love, all the days of this meaningful life that God has given you under the sun. All your days are meaningless, for this is your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, for in the realm of the dead where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Okay? And so here, many believe Solomon is writing, and he's saying, listen, enjoy your life, enjoy your wife, understand that a lot of what we're thriving and striving for is meaningless in a grand scheme of things, but there's some joy in things like work and toiling labor and doing these things. And then what does he say? He says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might. And when I had to take a self-inventory of what is in my hand, what is in my hand? What am I familiar with? What am I already good at? You see, in my life, when I was attempting to be a basketball player, and I shared with you guys earlier, that I was developing things I didn't have as a young man. I didn't have discipline. I didn't have a father figure. I didn't have consistency. And those were skills, believe it or not, I had to learn. I had to learn how to delay gratification. I had to learn how to keep training when I didn't feel like it. This is like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. I didn't have these things. And so that's in my formidable years, I was able to extract value from those things. I took those disciplines, I then applied them to the ability to learn how to make music and learn how to record myself. Now we're talking more hard skills, like using a computer, like engineering myself, like all these different things. These are hard skills that I had to apply. And then those very same hard skills, I was able to skill stack other skills on top of, right? I was able to skill stack video editing. I was able to skill stack live streaming. I was able to skill stack all of these other things, right? And over time, I just kept adding more and more skills to my repertoire and basically see it as a chain, and every lock is a different skill set. So what am I getting at? You have to start with what's already in your hand. You have to start with what's already in your hand. Okay? When David went to fight Goliath, and I know some folks get really triggered when we talk about David and we're comparing David to us. Extract the principle from what I'm saying is when David went to fight Goliath, Saul tried to put his armor on him. Saul tried to put armor on him that didn't fit him. And David said, I'm not comfortable in this. This is too big. This doesn't fit me. This isn't what I'm used to. And so what did David do? David took the slingshot that was already in his hand. The scripture says it was already in his hand. He looked at what was already in his hand, which was a slingshot and 5 smooth stones. And he took the thing that he knew to go and do the assignment in the season that he was in. And when David was anointed king, that was a window of decades until he became king. Okay, so first you have to understand what's already in your hand. What was in my hand? In my hand, I knew video editing. I knew thumbnails. I knew a little bit of graphic design. I knew live streaming. All of these different things were already in my hand because I had done them for different things. Sometimes some of the stuff I did for artists that I was working with, other stuff I did at my church. And so I have this skill set and all of these different things in my hand, and I have the ability to communicate. And so I combined it, and I was like, well, what is there out there to do? And instead of following my passion, and this is a big one, instead of following my passion, which a lot of people say, I actually allowed my passion to follow the opportunity. I'll say it again. Instead of following my passion, which was music and still is music, believe it or not, I allowed my passion to follow the opportunity. Okay, what am I talking about? My passion is music. My passion is I want to release music. But I understood that music was oversaturated, and I understood that I had some things working against me as a musician, that I wasn't the best, I wasn't the most talented as a musician, just like I was 5'10.5" trying to go to the NBA as an Armenian. And so instead of following my passion, I allowed my passion to follow the opportunity. Based on a skill set you and I have, we have to take self-inventory and say, yes, I may be passionate about these things, but am I good at these things? Is there opportunity for these things? And can I add value to these things? You tracking what I'm saying? Okay. And so if you're wrestling specifically with assignment, again, what's already in your hand? David took what was already in his hand. Okay. What's already in your hand? Are you following the opportunity, or are you only following your passion? Because sometimes your passion will get you in trouble. Sometimes your passion will get you in trouble. Right? And again, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you want to do music, cool, man, go for it. But just know, when you have a family and you have a wife and kids, you can't just follow your passion, because your life can't just be about you anymore. There's other people that you're responsible for. You got to follow the opportunity, and your passion will follow. Your passion will follow. And you want to know the crazy thing is, once I followed the opportunity and seeing YouTube as an exploding market, not as a shrinking market as Christian hip hop was, it allowed me to extend my audience, to tap into more people, and I still get to release music. I still get to do my passion. Now, it's not as lucrative as YouTube, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. Right? And so when you have other people that depend on you, when you have responsibilities, when you gain responsibilities, you lose your rights. When you gain responsibilities of having a family, you lose the right to be financially irresponsible. When you gain the responsibility of being the head of your home, you lose the right to be sloppy with your disciplines. Right? Chasing fantasies. Right? And so you have to look at, where is the opportunity in the marketplace? What do you already have in your hand? What are you already good at? What networks do you have? I had a lot of friends that were already successful on YouTube. Remember, we just had Pastor Jeff Morris here yesterday. Pastor Jeff Morris introduced me to Sean Cannell over 10 years ago. Sean Cannell runs Think Media. Think Media is one of the biggest online education platforms for teaching people how to get into YouTube. Because I had the relationship with Jeff, I had the relationship with Sean. They interviewed me over a decade ago for their platform. I was then able to continue, first of all, just see the inspiration and just say, wow, look at Sean. He's doing crazy, multiple 6 figures. Oh my gosh, he got the 7 figures off of YouTube. This is insane. It's possible. And then what? And then the relationship aspect not only gave me the inspiration side, he also gave me the information side of what it means to be a YouTuber. And then the transformation happened of me implementing it and becoming a successful YouTuber. That's just Sean Cannell. I'm not talking about Curtis King. I'm not talking about Belief. I'm not talking about all the other people around me that I saw explode on YouTube. Right? I followed the opportunity. Why? Because I had access to some people from certain networks. I had the skill set and I had something to say, and I was going to lean into my expertise and figure it out. Right? And so as you're processing this, the reality is I needed to change my plan. I needed to call an audible. I needed to reflect on, am I ultimately doing this to build up my empire, or am I doing my very best to be a faithful steward, a faithful manager with my time, talent, and treasure, recognizing that my life is not my own, it is God's. My macro purpose is to know God and make him known. My assignment in different seasons can change, right? And so my plans fell through. My plan to go to the NBA fell through. My plan to be a successful Christian rapper fell through. My plan to run a successful Christian rap label fell through. And I had some degrees of success in all of those different things. I was good in basketball. I could still hoop and play some pickup. I was a pretty good musician. We were grossing 6 figures, barely. You know what I mean? And so I had a little bit of success, but not to the degree that I'm at now. Why? Because I did not follow my passion. I followed the opportunity, and my passion followed. Okay? Proverbs says that he who works his land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies will have their fill of poverty. Are you chasing fantasies, or are you working your land? You got to take a sober assessment of that. Are you chasing fantasies, or are you working your land? I was chasing fantasies for what my goals were, for where I wanted to be. I live in Southern California. Some of you guys live in parts of the country where you'd be pumped to make $50,000 a year doing Christian rap or doing something, right? You'd be pumped on that. I don't have that luxury. I just don't, right? So I had to adjust things per where I was at. Take inventory of the things that I have access to and build on that. And so my plan had to change. And by the way, they're going to continue. It's going to continue evolving. It's going to continue changing. We continue changing. Why? Well, now that I'm a quote unquote successful YouTuber, I'm discovering that, well, by golly, the average YouTube run is like 3 years. So what do I do to not be irrelevant in a couple years? Well, I have to change again. The plan can't just do to be the same thing over and over again. It's not just rinse and repeat. So if you're noticing, we're experimenting with thumbnails. We're experimenting with formats. We're bringing in new personalities. Why? Because I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, who on YouTube, now that I'm here, which I'm extremely blessed and fortunate to be here, and it is not just because of white knuckle work ethic, grinding. It's because of access to relationships, access to information, inspiration, and the transferable tacit knowledge I've had from being an athlete into this. Okay, so I'm just being real with you guys, and all of these different things. I could tell you that my success isn't on accident, so I could retrace my steps. But then I'm also looking at what is the next iteration of this. And again, I'm speaking to people in a Western context. Okay, where you are trying to figure out your assignment, your career, these sorts of things. Okay, if you're not in a Western context, or if you are not of able body and sound mind, I may not be able to translate and transfer this information to you in the same way. Okay, so I got to always give that preface. So when I'm looking at specifically what I do, I have to think of the next season, and I got to then look and take inventory and go, okay, who are the guys that do this, that go not just 3 to 5 years, which is the average lifespan of your favorite YouTuber, but they're going decades. I got to take a self-inventory of those guys. Who are those guys? There's not a lot of them, right? It's not a lot of them. There's really only a handful of it, and it usually turns into some sort of variety show where there's a podcast, and so we're incorporating this, right? There'll be a time, probably in the foreseeable future, where you might pop into an after-party stream and not even see me in one of these. Why? Because we're developing personalities and we're developing talent, and we're thinking of how do we scale this so that I'm not the bottleneck of this operation. Because if I just let my plan be the driving force, it will continue to fail, as it has repeatedly. I have to consistently keep leveling up, and so do you, in whatever it is that you're attempting to do. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for all and thank you for everybody that's already partnering with us. Let me say that. Thank you for everybody that's already partnering with us. You guys are the real MVPs. We are so grateful for you. And if you're not, consider partnering with us so we can stay independent, only answering to you, never having to take a brand deals, and make goofy commercials like these.
Our friends at Genucel Skincare have exciting news to celebrate in 2023.
Using Manscaped during my showers after workout has given me much more confidence.
And that's where Mud Water comes in.
True Classic has got your back.
All thanks to the sponsor of today's video, SayMine.com.
Established Titles is your opportunity to earn the title of Laird or Lady. Subject to credit approval, rates range from 7.99% APR to 19.99% APR, included 0.50% auto pay discount.
If you don't want us to make ads with brands you don't care about, sign up for our online community for as little as $5 a month to keep us independent and ultimately answering to you as our boss. You get all sorts of benefits like daily replays of our after party streams, exclusive access to our Discord community, and early access to our podcast interviews, all starting for only $5 a month.